Today, I want to talk to you about why you're not stuck because of circumstances, but actually, the real reason why you're stuck is because your body is still identifying as the woman who is in survival mode versus the woman who is actually ready to receive. And obviously, this is not something consciously going on. No one consciously wants to be in survival mode or the woman who just gets by, right? These are all really deep seated beliefs that may be playing out unconsciously for a really long time. And it leaves patterns and it leaves cues. So if you've been feeling really stuck with where you're at, or you feel like you keep creating the same reality, this episode is for you. So I want to talk first about survival identity versus receiving identity and what it means to be wired in that survival and how that may show up in the body. Because it has many different faces, right? When you're in survival, it can be as subtle or maybe not so subtle as simply constantly feeling tension in your body. Like you may feel cognitively or intellectually that you don't have anything or a reason why your body should be feeling so tense, and yet it does. It just feels tense all the time. And you may notice that that tension is consistently in one area of your body as well. So I know for some people, the tension can be the tops of the shoulders, the neck, the chest, the stomach, the lower back, whatever it may be. And so that is a sign around that fight or flight energy. But it can also be this sense of like constant hypervigilance and alertness. So feeling like you're constantly on edge, that you're almost walking on eggshells. You're not feeling really grounded and centered. So it can be this hypervigilance that can show up throughout your day as well. And when you're in that place of survival, it is massively going to impact how you show up as a leader, how you respond when people come to you with feedback or a challenge or there's a roadblock. When you're already hypervigilant and in that survival mode, the response can be very reactive and it can go to worst case scenario versus staying in neutrality, staying open and remaining curious that there may be another way to do something that we haven't yet perceived. In that receiving identity, there's kind of this energy of like leaning down and back, right? That receptivity of trusting. And ultimately, at the core of that receptive energy is really trusting yourself, trusting the unfoldment of circumstances, and really truly feeling like these things are happening for you, not to you. And really, when we think about the external, we create our reality from our past perceptions, beliefs, choices, stories that are rooted or may have been rooted in that state of survival. So when we think about our current reality, ultimately, it's rarely the circumstance at hand that is the real problem. They're often the symptoms of past beliefs, past choices that we've chose that have got us into this current reality. Now, a lot of those choices may have been happening on a really deep subconscious level. So you may think, I didn't consciously choose to be in this situation. No, you probably didn't. You probably didn't choose consciously to be in that situation. But if it's a situation that keeps repeating, that is a real key to really look into what's underneath this. Because out of all the different circumstances that I've been in that feels like I'm repeating the same thing, the common denominator in all of those situations is me. I bring myself into it, right? I'm the one that's there every time. And so even when you change your environment, your nervous system is still going to be in survival. And so the pattern then repeats itself again. And that's really important, because I know for so many, it's like when the external circumstances can feel really uncomfortable, the desire, the temptation is to just change the external, like move house, move job, change partner, whatever it is. It's like, that is uncomfortable. I want to change it. And so really looking deeper into, okay, what is actually playing out here? What is my nervous system really activated by? And how can I actually start to really work with my nervous system so that I can really ground in and choose differently and actually repattern those decision-making choices from being one that's based in survival to being from a place of actual worthiness, feeling like I'm worthy of receiving, I'm worthy of actually creating what it is that I want to create, without constantly feeling like I have to force my way into it. I have to force that outcome. I have to control every tiny little thing, because that is exhausting. That is an exhausting way to live. So really, it's about beginning to see your external as a reflection of what may be going on internally, and starting to do this kind of audit, right, of your life. And if there's areas that feel really uncomfortable, and if there's areas where you feel like you constantly feel that you are hitting this ceiling, then there's something there. And, you know, for women in business, this can be as simple as you can't seem to get past a certain amount of revenue in your business. Like, you get to this point and then you go back down again. And it can be the same with time in the business as well. Like, you may take some time to just peel back from the business a little bit, but then something happens to an employee and then suddenly you have to step back in, and you notice this reoccurring pattern. Those are all really key insights to be like, okay, there's something going on. There's a subconscious belief. There is something going on in my nervous system that is keeping me in this survival, and then I play out the same choice, I play out the same pattern, and ultimately it creates the same result. So really, what I would love for you to tune into is, what is your perception around receiving? I love this topic because I feel like for women especially, there are so many stories around receiving, and also asking for support. So what are yours? Take out journal, take out a piece of paper and write down, when I hear the word receiving or asking for support, what are the connotations that I write out? Or what do I believe about that reality for myself? And notice if there's any tension that actually comes up in the body when you think about asking for support, or when you think about receiving and things coming to you, instead of you always having to like force and push and forge out this way where you feel like you're constantly pushing stuff uphill. That is really important. First, to understand what is underneath that. What is the story around, or perception around, receiving or asking for support? And then I want you to really tune into, what is the cost of not receiving? So what happens when you can't receive support? When you can't give yourself the space to even rest? when you can't take a compliment without just giving it back, ignoring it, or feeling really uncomfortable. I see this a lot where a woman is just in this hamster wheel of just being non-stop. And a lot of the time they realize in their business, like, oh, I can actually take a step back. But it's like their body is so used to being in survival. They are finding 1,001 things to fill their calendar up with. And then they look at it and they're like, why did I say yes? Why did I say yes to doing all these hours over here and then saying yes to this engagement and doing this public speaking event all on the same week? That's a clear sign that your body, your nervous system has been in this survival mode, and you're just making choices automatically from that state of survival. And this is what's really important to understand, is that you get to choose differently. You don't have to say yes to everything and anyone so that your diary is absolutely packed. But a lot of the time when I speak to those women, they actually realize that they feel really uncomfortable with space. And they don't even remember the last time they had space. And they try to take some time to rest, but then they feel guilty. So the consequence of not allowing yourself to receive is ultimately burnout, is ultimately having this heavy load that you're taking on yourself unnecessarily, because you could just either not say yes or ask for support, right? And so really what happens is it's like this paradox, because you're working harder to try to fix what your body already knows isn't safe, right? But working harder is not going to create that safety. It's not. It's going to be that constant distraction from actually creating that safety within your own body, within your own nervous system. And so there is such a huge toll that comes from operating out of survival on your physical and emotional well-being, which we've spoken to in other episodes. So really, how do you begin to shift your body's identity from one that is in survival to one that is in receiving mode? And that really starts with really simple embodiment practices. These don't have to be a huge amount of time, but it's really about signaling to your nervous system that it is safe, that your body is safe, and that it is safe to receive, that it is safe to ask for support. And really, there is such a huge role in diving into somatic awareness to actually rewire the survival patterns. So really it is about, first of all, coming back into simply witnessing and being with sensations in the body. That is the entry point into all of this. And this can happen through small daily rituals that cultivate relaxation, that cultivate presence, that cultivate a deep inner sense of getting to know yourself again and getting to know for you what actually really works for you, because it will be different for everyone. And then reclaiming your power through receiving, right? How actually receiving doesn't mean that you're weak and doesn't mean that you're incapable. It means strength. It takes courage, and it's actually around alignment, like really aligning to the version of you who feels so safe and worthy to receive. And that's magnetic, right? When a woman is fully present and she is so rooted and grounded and she feels safe to ask for support, that is so magnetic. And this dual effect that happens is not only does she receive that support, but it creates this deeper bond between you and the person who's actually given you that support, right? Because there's a level of vulnerability there and openness and connection. And really, how and why receiving is foundational to sustainable success and deep fulfillment. Because if you're constantly in survival, you're not rooted in, you're not going to feel grounded or connected or present with what it is that you're actually creating. You're going to blink and you're going to wonder what happened, or not even remember the elements of your day or the conversations that you had, because it's all going to roll into one. So coming back into that receptive and receiving mode is about really enjoying your journey, your unique presence, and really allowing all of you to come into that space. So I would love for you to reflect where you hold tension in your body and what the resistance is around receiving. And then notice what survival habits keep showing up despite your external success. And that's going to be really key. And then start to tune into your body's intelligence by just simply being with what is real and what is present from a place of neutrality, which means there's no judgment, there's no criticism. It's just this like childlike curiosity and wonder to really observe what is present. So I'm going to leave it there today. I would love to hear from you. What came up for you? What were those stories or beliefs around receiving? And how has this played out in your life? What are you witnessing in your external right now that you're ready to actually move through and stop repeating that little pattern? Sending you so much love, and I'll see you tomorrow.